If you spent a few moments on the internet this pandemic, you've heard of this thing called Tell Me Without Telling Me challenge. Right? You know, the one that goes like, tell me you're an Indian without telling me you're an Indian. Oh, voila. Now, what if I told you that this logic, this exact same trick, has been used as a guiding light for Indian alcohol and tobacco industries, helping them circumvent a ban on advertising to sustain a multi-billion-dollar industry generating revenues of up to $1.3 trillion and create an expected annual growth of 8.7%? How? By telling us that they're an alcohol brand without telling us they're an alcohol brand. So welcome to today's episode of On the Money, where we decode Indian advertising's biggest secret. That's not really a secret anymore. Surrogate advertising by alcohol and tobacco brands and the money behind it. Now, this wasn't always so tricky. I mean, back in the 1980s, advertising alcohol or tobacco in any shape or form was 100% legit. I mean, sure, it was a little gender biased. It was pretty gender biased. It was really gender biased. But nevertheless, it was 100% legit. Until extensive research from Ministry of Health found that cigarettes and alcohol have adverse effects on person's physical and mental health. And so, in 1995, the INB Ministry, through their Cable Television Networks Act, put out a ban on any ads that directly or indirectly promoted the sale or consumption of cigarettes, tobacco, alcohol, wine, liquor, basically any types of intoxicants, सारे लिख दिए. Still, where there is a rule, there is an exception. So, Indian businesses resorted to advertising's most noteworthy exception, surrogate advertising. That is, a form of advertising where tobacco and alcohol brands promote their brands in guise of their brand extensions. Matlab, they're more socially acceptable counterparts. Beer brands started selling soda, tobacco brands started selling mouth fresheners, and Kingfishers, well, they started selling everything they could sell. Interestingly enough though, the Indian legal context isn't the reason surrogate advertising was born. The actual origins can be traced back to Britain, where a bunch of housewives who were determined to fight back against the prevalent domestic violence by their drunk husbands led protests at such a large scale that action had to be taken. Liquor advertising got banned and surrogate advertising was born. The ripple effect of that reached India, and the first few examples of surrogate advertising were noted. Like Azad Bidi, who took their name a little too seriously and expressed their azadi by becoming the official sponsors of an international cricket match. More notably and more blatantly, Old Monk, who released a print ad जिसमें खुल्लम खुल्ला full power label दिखाया जा रहा है. The only difference being that the bottle was placed in sand, just enough sand that the words XXX rum were cut out. And if you listen closely, you could probably hear Marshall Erickson go, lawyered. Soon, every alcohol and tobacco brand in India was following suit. What didn't kill them make them stronger. Now, with brands, or rather their ad agencies, seeking out new and creative ways to position themselves in association with alcohol or tobacco, wink wink. No, literally, one brand actually used. Essentially, instead of pushing a particular product, the strategy was to capture or own a particular vibe or a culture. Owning a culture creates a community of loyal followers who want to associate with that culture. A community means customers, customers means brand ambassadors, and brand ambassadors means increase in a brand life cycle for these products. Hence, Kingfisher took over the good life with their King of Good Times campaign, branding everything from water and CDs to airlines and full-on IPL tournament. McDowell singled down on their number one Yari slogan and jingle, selling you soda, sure, but actually selling you friendship. And alcohol, of course. Imperial Blue doubled down on their core audience of men, celebrating quirky menisms with their Men Will Be Men campaign for music CDs. Bacardi and Smirnoff cemented their niche with youth and partying culture by sponsoring and hosting music festivals, including the massive NH7 Weekender. Cut to today, and India is witnessing surrogate advertising across platforms to the tune of roughly 600 to 800 crores, out of which 70% is on TV. Properties like Royal Stag Coke Studio, Vimal Ilaichi Film Fair, TV series like The Divarist, Aristotle's Bring on the Night, Blender Pride's Fashion Tour are everywhere, not really hiding, very much in plain sight, immeasurably impacting the pop culture and very measurably impacting our Friday shopping list. In the process, India is becoming the third largest liquor market in the world, with 160 million alcohol consumers and 267 million tobacco users. Now, the obvious question that comes up is that how are they doing this? the first thought that comes to mind is that it's probably in the interest of the government to just let it go, right? Because given the taxes that they generate off these products, I mean, in the year 2019 alone, Indian states together earned about 2.25 trillion rupees on taxes from alcohol. And in the year 2020, they earned 356 billion rupees from taxes on cigarettes. So it wouldn't make sense to stop them, right? But truthfully, it's a little more complex than that. While brands have pushed their limits, the government, regulatory bodies, citizens, and other socially conscious entities have pushed back too, creating a proxy tug of war. Kabhi idhar, kabhi udhar, kabhi idhar, udhar. You get the point? Pushback has come in many forms. Like in 1999, when a brand of cigarettes, Wills, wanted to sponsor the Indian cricket team, the Voluntary Health Association of India voluntarily filed a PIL to prevent that from happening, saying that it would promote smoking amongst viewers. And it worked. ITC themselves withdrew the sponsorship as a gesture of goodwill. Similarly, in 2016, when Pan Bahar took the tobacco world and the meme world by storm, nabbing Pierce Brosnan, James Bond himself, to sell their mouth freshener, the Delhi government health department got involved. They issued a statement asking him to explain his decision to promote a hazardous product. He said that he'd been cheated on and his image has been used without his authorization. He'd been told that the product was actually a mouth freshener. The matter ended there. But the memes didn't. Still, like in any proxy war, contradictions and grey areas abound. So in 2008 during IPL, concerns were raised over naming Vijay Mallya's team as Royal Challengers Bangalore, a pretty clear reference to UB's Royal Challenge whiskey. Again, a PIL was filed. This time, the Supreme Court directed that these two were legit separate entities. The bench said that only those who drink would be affected by such a thing. Why do you have to look for liquor in cricket? You just watch the cricket match. And ITC be like, बहुत नाइंसाफी है. But over the years, multiple new laws have come out to address these grey areas and further restrict surrogate ads. One of these came from ASCI, the Advertising Standards Council of India, when they put out a set of guidelines on what qualifies as a surrogate product and hence qualifies for advertising. Essentially, what they were saying was कि अगर तुम्हें TV पे कुछ बेचना है, तो market में भी बेचना पड़ेगा. So, for example, if Kingfisher wanted to put an ad for Kingfisher water, then they'd have to prove that Kingfisher water exists in the market with 10% of Kingfisher's market share and a turnover of 5 crores nationally. As per these guidelines, Kingfisher Airline actually became a legitimate vehicle for branding with revenue in thousands of crores. On the other hand, Bagpiper Soda had to remove their posters because the probe revealed that there was no Bagpiper Soda available in the market. There was just Bagpiper whiskey. Bagpiper actually had to put out a corrective poster on their own cause that read, "Keep liquor away from young generation, India's #1 only natural drink, Nimbu Pani." In fact, as of 2021, the ASCI legislation seems to be getting even more strict, especially in the context of the new surrogate products being launched. Now, if your new product is less than 2 years old, you'll have to show a turnover of at least 20 lakh rupees a month if you want to advertise it. Having said that, ASCI is a self-regulating body for advertising, which basically means that it can only pull up an advertiser for violation if it receives a complaint from the public. So, what does that mean? Who wins? And will the legislation discourage surrogate advertising? Well, that would depend on the alcohol and the tobacco brand. And that would depend on whether or not surrogate advertising is working for them or not. Right? The revenue sure make it sound like it is. Because even in 2021, the revenue of the cigarette segment is already $13,000 million. And in alcohol segment, it's $51,000 million. But how can we be so sure that this revenue is coming from surrogate advertising alone? You're right, we can't be. Just like any other marketing effort, sales can be attributed to a variety of factors, including a good distribution model, the existing legacy of the brand, price point, region-specific data, and many other factors. Then again, technically the goal of advertising isn't to create revenue, it's to create brand recall. And for surrogate advertising, experts believe that the goal isn't even to create brand recall, rather sustaining it. Basically, reminding the consumer about the brand that already exists, as explained by Ashish Chakravarti. The new entrants, however, don't really benefit from this as much because अगर brand ही नहीं होगा, तो उसे extend कैसे करोगे? But हाँ, as far as sustaining brand recall goes, there is enough data to suggest efficacy. Inferences from several studies show that 42 out of 50 people are able to recognize surrogate advertising, which means that they know exactly which liquor or tobacco brand is being sold to them. But doesn't that defeat the purpose of the ban to begin with? And if that's the case, what does that mean for the debate and society at large? Should there be a ban on liquor tobacco advertising or not? Sociologists will tell you yes, given that several studies have time and again shown the financial distress and the health hazards that alcohol and tobacco consumption cause. But the brands will quickly call out this as hypocrisy, saying that if you're allowed to sell the product, you should be able to advertise it. But if यही बात है, then is banning the product the only solution? Is that even a real solution? Should bureaucracy take charge for some kind of greater good? Or should adults have the freedom to make their own independent and informed decisions? Or would a ban positively impact society? Or would it fuel a scarier dark web market? The answers, of course, will be different depending on who you ask. Lucky for us, we don't have to look for any surrogate vehicle to ask you to like, share, and subscribe to our channel. And especially if you want to see more videos on the machinations of India's most intriguing industries. We'll see you on the next episode of On the Money. Meanwhile, do not forget to just comment down your favorite surrogate campaigns and the jingles. Okay, mine was that oola la 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 le. Okay, I'll stop singing, but you have just comment. I'll stop singing if you comment right now. I'm waiting.